Hi and welcome to this brief little clip. I have down here two chronograph runners from Seiko watches, and as I'm in the middle of working on a 6139 Pogue just now, and I had to hand a 7015, one of the flyback chronos, I thought it would be interesting to have a comparison of the two different chronograph runners. Now, the first thing you'll notice difference-wise is the plate with the finger at the top that you'll see on the right-hand side one, which is the 6139 chronograph runner, is missing on the one on the left-hand side, and that's, well, in part because there is no minute counter on the 7015, but there is on the 7016 and 7018. And on those particular models, it's a running minute counter. It doesn't click over with the finger actuating it. But you'll also notice that the vertical clutch assemblies, while they work in the same manner, they both use a vertical clutch system, and they're operated similarly by a pair of clutch fingers that grip or release the spring clutch. You'll see that they are actually very, very different. The one on, let's try and tip this up in so that you can see, but you see the 7015 on the left uses a 6-fingered spring washer, whereas the 6139, while it's much more difficult to see, uses an oddly elaborate shaped spring, and that's not dissimilar to the one that you'll see in the Citizen 8110A, but it is unfortunately quite well hidden underneath the minute wheel finger and the chronograph heart. One of the things I like about the 7015 and variants chronograph runner is that the heart is actually visible right on the top. It's easy to inspect and also handy for me because my preferred method of lubricating these is to actually use a grease-soaked piece of pegwood, which I lubricate the heart of the entire surface of the chronograph heart with, rather than lubricating the hammers. Whereas with the 6139, as you can see with this one here, it's impossible to do that because you cannot get anything in there easily without smearing grease on anything else. So the only option you're kind of left with is to lubricate the hammers rather than the chronograph heart. But you can also see there's a difference in the length of them. The 6139 is considerably longer, and that will be notable in the fact that when you compare the watches side by side, you'll see that the 7015, 16, 17 and 18 are considerably thinner in profile. They are really not much thicker than something like a 7019 standard wristwatch. You'll see that they both similarly use a cut end to the stem for securing the seconds hand. It kind of keys its way onto the stem as you fit it, and that's sloped with a couple of cut flat edges, and very similarly on the 7015 as well, and that means that the pipe of the seconds hand cuts its way onto these rather than being solely a friction push fit like pretty much every Swiss chronograph you'll have ever seen. So this side of it, if I can tilt this up a little bit, and oops, if I can tilt this up a little and we can focus on that for you, you can see the design of this side is pretty much the same idea. You've got the drive pinion underneath, and obviously this has a little bit of give in it to allow it to slide, to allow the wheel to rotate while the pivot is being gripped and held steady. And if we tip it forward the other way, you'll see, as described, the clutch, the spring operated clutch assembly, which is two halves with a spring bearing on them. But obviously on the 6139 it's much thicker because you've got so many more components there. So hopefully that's been interesting to those of you who have wondered what the differences between the two were, and for those of you who perhaps weren't even aware that there was another type of chrono wheel on the on the flyback series. So hopefully you found that interesting. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.